Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Meet a Professional series. This iteration is for fashion and business. My name is Matthew Garcia. I'm here with the Career Center. My guest today is Ashley Orphis, and they have a lot that they're going to share with you about fashion and business, their current venture, and many of their other experiences that they'd like to share with you. We're having a brief conversation before this. That's a great preamble to what is to be shared today. So, without further ado, Ashley, love to hear about you and what influenced you to enter your field. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thank you for having me, everyone. My name is Ashley Orphis. I'm the founder of ALAB Group, which is a communications and PR consultancy that I launched 10 years ago. Hard to believe. We are primarily working with clients at the intersection of innovation and enterprise. So those are usually companies that are blending fashion, technology, commerce, lifestyle. So, we really service a lot of different industries. In terms of what influenced me to enter this field, I think I always had, not to be cliche, but a passion for fashion. I think, in high school specifically, I really was intrigued. I thought I was going to specifically, eventually be a CEO of a luxury brand. That was my dream. And so my background was pretty much on the luxury side. And that was really, I think, the first sort of fundamental experience I had in terms of wanting to go into the field. And then I took a great internship in my senior year at Ferragamo, and that my boss in the PR department was really instrumental in really shaping my career and further instilling that this is what I wanted to do.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, just to delve a little bit more into your college experience and entering the field. So, during and shortly after college, what influenced your short term and your long term goals?
Great question. So I think short term, I just wanted to do well. I think that a lot of my friends that were in fashion were definitely more on the creative side, and they weren't necessarily learning the business side. And I knew that that was going to be a really difficult challenge for them because there was more and more of this pressure and this blending of the two worlds. And so for me in college, I just wanted to do really well. I wanted to learn. I wanted to absorb a lot of these classes that maybe my friends weren't going to get traditional education in. So, taking, economics and accounting and entrepreneurship and management, these were things that were really instrumental in helping me have the confidence or the know-how to start my own business. So I think first and foremost in college, I just wanted to do well. I wanted to succeed in my classes. There was a lot going on. So I had a lot of projects. So I just wanted to, from a time management perspective, manage my schedule and still do well. And then I think long term, like most of us on this call, I wanted to get a great job. That was my long-term goal. Like I said, my interest at that time was definitely on the luxury side. And so I wanted to get a great job in luxury fashion. At that point, I wanted to be in the PR department, which was something that maybe I had not known until my senior year, really. But primarily, it was just to get a great job and contribute also to a team, right? A team where I could grow, but also really be instrumental in helping to achieve goals.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next question is a two-part question. So please feel free to answer in any order you'd like. What motivated you to found your business? And what should our audience know about the process, its challenges, and its rewards?
Whew, I could speak on all that for hours. I think like entrepreneurs itself, like I always say, it's like a blessing and a curse. It sort of finds you. You don't find it. I think, oftentimes a similar story that I hear from other entrepreneurs as well is that a value is often tested or is unfulfilled. And so for me, the short side of things is I sort of saw the world from a different lens. I had a really unique point of view in terms of how I saw where the industry was going, but also my take on how to sort of solve some of those problems in the communication space. And so fundamentally, that was the driving force. Is I was essentially trying to build a better mousetrap. It wasn't for, just to have fun and do it on my own. I really had, I think, a different point of conversation that I felt like I had to offer to offer this new wave of fashion brand, direct to consumer brands, and other industries that were rising because of technology and specifically e-commerce at the time. And then in terms of challenges, I mean, I always say the biggest challenge is yourself. I think the biggest challenge is always the leap of saying, I'm going to start it today. I'm officially a founder. I'm officially an entrepreneur. And I would say that's, the biggest challenge is being ready even when you're not ready, and sort of walking into the fear and just being okay with that, that process. And then I think that the most rewarding part is honestly helping brands and helping people. I think as a service provider, as an entrepreneur, when my clients are successful and they're winning and their businesses are growing or people are hearing about them, to me, that is the most exciting part of why I do this. And fundamentally, we all have a purpose in life. And I think that should always be the driving factor as to why you do something in your industry is really to contribute. So for me, that is, the best part of my job is being able to be part of a process, work with other brands and help them, propel their message forward.
Terrific. I really appreciate you sharing. Just to delve a little bit more into your background and how important it is today. What role does your experience in luxury retail and entertainment play in your success as president of your company?
Yeah, so I think, there is a lot of, I think, misconception about experience. I think traditionally speaking, we have been sort of ingrained and taught to, sort of stick to a certain field and get as much experience in that field as possible. But what I have learned is I think having some diverse experience really shaped my own perspective on how I wanted to be, not only lead a company and lead a team, but also interact with clients. So my first role was at Ferragamo. I ended up staying on within the PR department, and then I ended up working through that job. I met my next boss, who was a Hollywood producer. I started doing some marketing work for her, and then which led me to my next job, which was branding luxury concept stores for Phil Collins' wife at the time, around the world. So, having these three really unique experiences taught me different aspects of leadership, currency, social currency, interaction, pace, style of work. So, I would really encourage people to not necessarily think about their careers linearly. I know that there's a lot of pressure also on, young professionals to say, oh, well, I speak to a lot of people and they're always so nervous to like, what is my first job I should pick? And I'm so scared. And, I think that there is something to be said for having some diverse experience, because, you really, it fundamentally matures you, but it also really helps you navigate and choose from like what's great in an environment and what's not so great.
Excellent. Thank you. So to continue to pull on that thread about diverse experiences, what should our audience know or consider to be the most valuable shadowing, internship, or work experience that they can gain while they're in college?
This is a really important question because for me, I if I didn't have those internships during college, I wouldn't have a resume to sort of shop around and apply. So I think internships are so fundamental to your career opportunities, and to your success. I think the best internships are the ones that are hands on. I get resumes all the time with people that have, fancy they worked for fancy corporations. So, maybe they worked for Ralph Lauren and Gucci and Calvin Klein. And a lot of the time, these young professionals haven't really done anything in their internships, right? Maybe they've done some press clippings. Maybe they've done they've done very little, simply because these organizations are very systematic and very corporate. And so I would say definitely consider internships where you can get hands-on experience, and ask that in your exploratory interview. Ask, what are some of the tasks I'll be doing, and make them tell you what it is. But for me, that is absolutely the most fundamental. Make sure that you are learning on the job and you are doing things and asking questions. That really makes for the most valuable experience.
That's terrific. So, talking about experiences and asking questions to kind of better understand what's expected, I would love to kind of follow up on skills. Specifically, what technical and soft skills do you find to be most valuable in those you work with and those you hire?
Another great questions. I think also skills is another sort of misconception. I think a lot of the time we focus on, the Excels and the key, strong writing and oral skills. And these are all very important. But oftentimes I think the most overlooked skills and soft skills is having a positive can-do attitude. Especially with entry level positions, you are not expected to know everything. We know that. That is why it's an entry level position. However, it is so invaluable for a young employee to really have a great can do attitude. So showing up, being excited, having a quest to learn, asking questions, being engaged, asking if you can help or take on any other responsibilities. This to me is, I think, really a great attribute that caters to your success.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And as you may have experienced in your career, a big part of the success can be and very much is networking. And so, how does one effectively network in your field? And what does it really take for that person to form lasting connections with people in the field?
So I love tackling this question because I think that there is a lot of pressure and there's a lot of messaging around networking. I agree that networking is a really important and valuable tool to really supporting your growth and success in your respective industries. However, I really like to tell people that, part of networking is understanding what type of communicator you are. Networking can be really overwhelming. As someone that's in the PR space, I get really overwhelmed with crowds. I get a little bit shy. So for me, early on, I interpreted networking in my own way. I was somebody that took more of a one-on-one sort of approach to things, as opposed to going to these large conferences or breakfasts that were offered. So I would say, understand and know sort of who you are and what makes you feel comfortable, because when you feel comfortable and confident, you're going to thrive. You're going to have a really authentic conversation, which really attributes to a lasting and meaningful connection. So I think that's the most valuable experience I have, is don't be sort of afraid to sort of make your own path when it comes to networking. Zoom is great. There's a lot of resources right now online where they'll pair you up. It's sort of like a lunch club, so to speak. They'll pair you up with another industry maven, and you guys will, can chat for 30 minutes. So there's a lot of resources that are at your disposal. And I encourage you to kind of find that resource that makes sense to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So, we actually have two questions that were sent in from the group. So, thank you to the student who just sent me them directly. One of which is, where does one look for a fashion or related internship? Where do they start to try and find that?
Well, I think your career services is, I think, a great, resource that could help you find that. I know that a lot of them are connected to the fashion industry, so that's a great way. online, there's a variety of resources. LinkedIn, I think, is a really important business tool and network. So I know that we're all very social media obsessed in general, but that, that specific network often gets overlooked, and that they have posted a ton of great internships and job postings there daily. So use your resources that are online, and do some great searches. You can also contact the HR department at a lot of these brands. So if there is a specific company that you're very passionate about, you can certainly reach out to them, and you could share that passion and enthusiasm with them, and uh, provide ask for direct requests.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. So we got two more questions after that one. So we're gonna start to answer those. Is it realistic for a business, finance, or management major to be successful in the industry?
Absolutely. I think arguably you're way more successful if you have that background. So specifically for me, I graduated at LIM with a BBA in marketing, and it was fundamental to my success. I think at the end of the day, fashion is a business, and to have those resources and that skills and that knowledge behind you, first and foremost, will absolutely set you up for success. So I'm really a big believer, and I'm a traditionalist when it comes to business fundamentals. Those don't change over time. And you having that expertise really sets you apart.
Excellent. Thank you. One more question from our group is how your company is adjusting to the challenges of COVID-19 and the pandemic when people are limiting their spending and not as responsive to traditional marketing, excuse me, such as billboards and perhaps print marketing.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think, I really like to try and really be transparent and open with anyone that I have a conversation with about career and adjusting. And even the fashion industry, a lot of you on this call are interested in that industry, and it has really taken a hit. I think, like anything, it's about being innovative and continuing to solve problems. So, some of our clients are really badly hit. We definitely had, altered their spending and their budgets and their plans within 2020. But that being said, there's also been a lot of opportunity out there of new brands that are creating during this time and trying to solve problems and create products while we're at home and thinking about our lives and our values. So I would say that the best tool also during this time is to remain positive and be optimistic and not lose focus on the goal. So for a lot of our clients, they still have problems they need to solve. Maybe it's with smaller budgets, but we're here to really service them and help them weather the storm.
Amazing, thank you. So one more question from my list before we open it up to the group for open Q&A. So in general, where do you see your field headed in the next 5 years, and how will you be adjusting to these developments?
Great question. I think if anything, COVID and everything we experienced this year, I feel like we did like 10 years worth of work already into the future. I think, you know, being in the innovation space, right? Working with young companies that are trying to say and do something very differently than, their counterparts, always requires, I think, and my team sort of having a pulse on what's going on in society. So for us, it's about not only being here and present today, but also 10 steps ahead to help them solve problems. I think we're going to continue to see great innovation happen. Even in fashion, we're seeing a lot in the sustainability space right now. There are some great brands that are revolutionizing the way we consume product, the way we wear product, which is very inspiring. And I love that space. So I'm definitely looking forward to growing in that area as well. But for me, the next 5 years is about continuing to help these brands tell their story and being sort of ahead of the pulse, so to speak, anticipating industry needs, market standards, consumer demands. And it really requires, me and my team being like very nuanced about what's going on, not just in fashion, but in the world, right? How do all of these things that are going on really contribute to a story? So for me, it's really about staying, ahead of trends, and helping these companies, launch into new things, new areas, and new territories.
Thank you for answering all of my questions. I really appreciate you making the time. I'd like to open it up to those in attendance to ask questions of Ashley so that we all can engage in some dialogue together. So please feel free to ask some questions. Yes, go for it. Thank you for raising your hand. Go for it.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you so much for speaking. I'm really curious what kind of brands you're working with, or if you're working within a particular industry like the fashion industry.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Nice to meet you. We're working with a variety of different brands, also in fashion. We're specifically working with, one fashion brand right now who is trying to change the conversation between luxury and consumption. So they have designed an entire e-commerce site devoted to sustainable shopping. And their backgrounds, they were in traditional fashion and luxury, and they really felt that this area needed to change. So that's a great example of a fashion brand that we're working with. We also work with Title of Work, who's part of the CFDA. He's a men's accessory brand and designer. Every celebrity has worn him, you name it. He's been really successful in the space. So that's another brand we're working with. So, the list is on and on. We have other clients that we're working on some crazy ideas with. We have one in California right now where they are doing an experiential drive-through through the holidays. So you experience the whole concept in your car, and that's been a lot of fun. So our client range really varies, and I'm always just so excited to dive in with them.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question sent in from the group. You had mentioned sustainability, but are there any other additional up and coming trends or areas in the industry to be on the lookout for since traditional retailing seems to be going away?
Absolutely. I think direct to consumer is continuing to become a big game changer for brands. A lot of brands that we're speaking with have grown over 200% during COVID. So I think we're going to see a lot of direct to consumer brands. I think for those who don't know the term direct to consumer, it really just means that you're cutting out the middleman and that you're selling directly to your customer, and you're able to really cut the costs down, and it's sort of a win-win for everybody. So there's been a lot of successful brands even during COVID that have thrived, and we're going to continue to see that. A lot of those direct to consumer brands are often focusing on millennials. But I think one of the trends that we're going to see after all this is we're going to see a big rise in direct to consumer brands for baby boomers, for other demographics beyond just millennials, because now people have been really comfortable to shop in their home. So I think that is another big brand. And I really encourage you guys to look at internships and jobs out there for some of these great direct to consumer brands. Everlane's a great one that continues to grow. There's a brand called Entire World, who used to be made from the founders of Band of Outsiders, who have been selling sweatpants. New York Times did a wonderful article about them, how they've basically revolutionized sweatpants during COVID. So there are some great brands out there that are hiring, that are looking for, I like to call young unicorns, who can lend their expertise and get involved. And so that's another trend that we're going to see. Another one is beauty, wellness, skincare, rituals. I think, given a pandemic, people are really rethinking about their health. And that is in a lot of ways becoming a fashion business, because these are products that are beautiful looking, and sort of borrow from some of the DNA of a fashion brand. So, there's brands like Hilma that are popping up, and Ritual, and Gilded's another client that we work with in the wellness and skincare space, and they've been booming during COVID. So I think, you're going to also see a lot of continued growth in wellness as well. And, I also encourage people, again, if your interest is in fashion, to still look at those brands, because they are operating and building beautiful and well-designed products. So that could be a really great opportunity as well.
Terrific. Thank you so much for answering the question. I have a follow-up question.
Yeah,
We
of course.
collaborated with the Fashion and Business Club to make this event possible, so wanted to give them an early thank you for working with us to get the word out to students. If students are involved specifically in Fashion and Business Club or generally in student organizations, when you're considering hiring talent, how have some of the best marketed students put their candidacy out there in reference to how they've been involved on campus?
I think that's a great question. I think that something as simple as a portfolio is key, showing me what you've done. I think that those candidates always stand out to me. Oh, I worked, I wrote for the school paper, I participated in the fashion show, I put this event together for a club. I think that those are key. I think any examples of proof, of your leadership, of your work ethic, of your work itself, are very fundamental. So for me, I think it can be as easy as a portfolio and sharing it. And also too, in an interview, speaking to it, making sure that you're bringing that up. If you have limited experience beyond, beyond your education, your extracurricular is definitely a selling point. I know for me, it's something that, if somebody is even on a sports team, I really look at that, because I think it really shows me something about who they are. And so definitely don't hide that or feel like it's not going to matter, because it does. If you're putting in the work and you're really contributing to these clubs or organizations and it's fun, you should share that, because you're going to light up when you talk about what you did, or how you transformed a situation, or how you saved the fashion show, or how you turned a boring lunch meeting into a beautiful gala experience. So don't sell those experiences short. They matter. And they're still hands-on experience.
Terrific. Thank you. Got one more question from the group. They're asking for specifically, do you offer internships or opportunities to college students? And if so, what might be the hiring or recruiting timeline?
Yeah, great question. We are looking right now for interns. We always, right now we're not hiring at this very moment, but we always turn to our interns or past interns for consideration. We've had some amazing interns that have gone on to work with us in some capacity. We are definitely looking for winter interns right now, and I can share that information as well if anyone's interested.
Amazing. Thank you. Still open to the floor. Students, if you want to ask questions, please feel free. Give it a few moments. Any questions from the group? I'm going to ask actually one more question of my own. Can you give an example of a mentor who made an impact on your career and why that impact was so important?
I think mentors are so hard to find, but they're so valuable. I would not be here today where I am if it wasn't for my mentor. I found a mentor. I sort of had, I would say, two mentors. One during my college experience with a professor, which really helped, I think, shepherd me and guide me closer and closer to my goal. And the other would be at my senior, internship at Ferragamo in the PR department. I was sort of dropped in that department by accident. I had applied for the marketing department, and then I found out there was no marketing. And so sort of being, pushed into the PR department with my boss was so valuable to me. I think it really shaped everything that I stand for, everything that I am. I think, mentors are really hard to find. and it definitely it's sort of a two-way relationship. So I think if you can find one, really thank them, and staying in contact with them and let them know that you're so appreciative of their time and their wisdom and their energy, because it will help you go so far, to the point where, this individual, my mentor, launched her own company a couple of years ago, and my team did the PR for it, which was such a full circle moment. So I think mentors are invaluable. They are instrumental in your career, and if you can find one, really hold on to them and show them that you are so appreciative of their time and their energy and their loyalty.
Fantastic. Ashley, really wanted to say thank you so much
Of
for
course.
for this group, for the students for being here, for the Career Center team who's present with us as well. Thank you. Special thank you to Fashion and Business Club who helped collaborate and make this event possible. A couple points for final remarks. One of which is we love your feedback and we want to know how we're doing with these Meet a Professional series events. In the chat is a survey that you can provide that feedback, very short and brief. You can take that and provide that now or save it for another time, to let us know how it is that you enjoyed this event. Following that, Ashley, if any students want to get in touch with you, what would be the best method of connecting?
Absolutely. I will drop my email in the chat. It's just Ashley at ALAB Group. And happy to answer any questions that may arise that you have specifically about my business, about the industry. I'm, definitely here to help.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you again. And to the students, if you have not ever reached out to a professional or you need some guidance with your correspondence and outreach, please feel free to make an appointment with the Career Center and contact us so that we can support you. Otherwise, thank you very much for attending. Let us know if you need our support. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. And Ashley, thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. You were great.